Okay, I just filmed the whole video, but I kind of feel like I have to make an introduction for it because this goes, you'll see, like all over the place. My thoughts are very scattered, and um, going into it, I just want to let you know about what all the rest of this is. Basically, um, there is a guy, Nathan Apfel. He has him and Chris. I'm not gonna say his last name because I'm gonna embarrass myself. Nathan and Chris have a business called The Religion Business, and they make like podcasts, and there's a docu series, and there's an app that they're building, all like incredible stuff. The religion business is there to basically call a shovel a shovel. Um, Say what you want about Christianity, it is a like million or billion-dollar industry, especially in America, but like also worldwide, even more so. Um, Probably just with America being the heaviest hitters because they've got like one of the strongest currencies. So the religion business just says, hey, there's what we think of as the church, which is like a building. That's not the church. The church is the people inside the building, and the building that you think of when you say, hey, it's Sunday, we're going to go to church today. That building that you go to is a religious institution where once you like boil everything, like you can just boil it down to money coming in and money going out. That means it's a business, and this business is in a an unregulated sector where they don't pay taxes. They don't have to report on how much is coming in, and they sure as hell don't have to report about how they spend that money. And Nathan is questioning the system because it is built on the backs of donors and people who tithe. I go like that because like is it really a tithe if the dude you're giving money to isn't a Levitical priest who owns no property? But yeah, like one of the questions that Nathan brings up in all the videos and stuff. So so you have the religion business. They are um, exposing and explaining and exploring the money side of religion, um, and seeing the like absolute shit show that that whole thing is. Um, and then you have Ruslan, who sharp guy. I love his content. I watch his videos like all the time. Um, and he sees the work that Nathan Apfel is doing, and he says, "Hey, this man has got it wrong. He doesn't know what he's talking about." And I'm I'm basically gonna invite him onto my show to explain to him about how wrong he is and to defend why the system is actually like a good thing. And in all my years of watching Ruslan, I have never seen such a bad take. Like it, it's something that popped into my head while I was watching the 3 hour interview. Was like, damn, I wonder if Ruslan even I wonder if he can even like hear what he's saying, or if he's like really thought through this stuff and like really wrestled with it. Um, and yeah, no, it so I have a lot of thoughts about the conversation that they had, and um, this like the rest of the video that I've made is about my sort of reaction to Ruslan's bad takes. Um, and yeah, so for context, if this is completely out of the blue for you, I would highly recommend go check out Nathan Apfel's interview that he did with Sean Ryan. go check out the religion business, the work that they're doing. They have some very like interesting interviews on their podcast, The Arena, and Ruslan has made a bunch of videos. Before the video he did sitting down with Nathan, Ruslan had done a bunch of videos where he like reacted to some of the content that Ruslan is making. Sorry, Ruslan made videos reacting to the content that Nathan Apfel and the religious business are making. So you could say this is like a response to a response, and like kind of very messy all over the place. But this is just to get some of my thoughts out there, because that was such a painful video to watch. And like I could type out a million comments saying like what the fuck, or I could just make like a 3-hour video of my own where I bitch about it. So yeah, world's best intro ever. Yeah, I don't think there's much more to say. Yeah, I would only this video is made specifically for Ruslan and all the people who, having seen what the religious business are up to, have dug their heels in the sand and said, I am totally opposed to that, and I don't see why they would want to do the stuff that they are doing. So if you haven't been given the context of Nathan Apfel and the religion business, and you haven't spent those like grueling hours sitting through Ruslan's takes on the whole thing, on the whole situation, then this video will be completely meaningless. But if you are in the position where you are seeing a Christian call religious institutions to be open and transparent and like shine a light in terms of the business side of running these organizations, if you see that and you think that is bad news, then this is basically my thoughts on like how the fuck did you come to that conclusion. So yeah, without further ado, there you go. Okay. Mike Winger, come and get your boy. Yo, how do I even... There's so much that I want to talk about to do with Ruslan and Nathan Apfel from the religion business. Firstly, I would like to just put it out there that when Ruslan started his 3-hour debate with Nathan, he said that he doesn't have a dog in this fight. And like, bro, nobody makes a 3-hour video for a topic that they don't feel strongly about. But yeah, that I guess goes without saying, stating the obvious here. No. Why do I want to talk about this? I think Ruslan has really well and truly missed the point about everything that the religious business is trying to show and explain and explore. And yeah, Ruslan had set up the meeting under the with the appearance of saying like, yo, no, I just want to sit down and have a chat and see, we don't quite see this eye to eye, but like we'll talk it through. And it was 3 hours of Nathan trying to get a point in there while Ruslan is talking over him like again and again and again. And Ruslan even says in the video, hey, Nathan, we want to let's honor each other here. Let's make a commitment not to interrupt each other, only for him to just keep talking over Nathan. So yeah, like, needless to say, very painful video to watch. It was a tough one. But yeah, why am I talking about it? I wanted to highlight how well and truly Ruslan has missed the mark, or missed the point. For example, there was there's so many different things I could talk about. I'm just trying to like order my thoughts. I guess a good place to start is that Nathan's premise is that Christianity today has conflated the church with the building that the church goes to in order to congregate and worship and like be in community together, because the church is the people. Like in Thor Ragnarok, where they were like, oh, Asgard is not a place, it is a people. It's the same idea with the church. It is not a building, it is the ecclesia, the gathering together of everyone who is like coming together to share in the faith. So that is the church. And this church that we are speaking about preaches about honesty and transparency and a light to the world and like all these things. And the institution, so what we could think of as organized religion, the religious institutions that facilitate the church, the buildings we go to, the bank accounts, the legal structures and setups where money is poured into in donations and then expensed for buildings, maintenance, staff costs, benefits, upkeep. I guess that's maintenance as well. But like the legal structure, money coming in, money coming out, it's a business. And what Nathan is basically saying is, please, like, for the love of God, call a shovel a shovel. He showed that in the tax codes, there's the for the, I think it was called a 501c3 form, which is basically the form that churches fill out to say we're a church and we do not exist to the IRS because we're a church. He showed that because of church and church auxiliaries, that creates a bit of a loophole in the system where churches can go and buy non-profits or even for-profit companies and call it like, oh, this is a church auxiliary now. Before it was a non-profit or a profit business, like a cafe or like whatever charity. They were it was like in the secular world where they have to report like certain things, basic income and main expenses like top earners and overheads. I think I will need to double check this, and I'm sure there are people who know a lot better than me what's what. Go watch Nathan, he lays it all out very nicely. What am I trying to say here? Right, there's a loophole in the system because it's not just churches, it's church auxiliaries. So if I had a church, I can go buy a cafe. I can say, oh, because this cafe is now owned by the church, it's not just a for-profit cafe anymore. It is a ministry, which means basically like it is viewed in the same light as what a church is according to the tax system, which is basically it doesn't exist. Like it doesn't have to report on money coming in or money going out. It is just in the dark. This like unregulated Wild West, which back in the day was appropriately made because the taxman said, you all know these churches, they're building social credit, they're making the communities that they're in a better place and doing that more effectively than what we can. So hats off to them. They're doing a good job. We'll let them do their thing and we won't like stick our nose in their business. They are allowed their privacy. And so now that's created precedent, but the system is being abused. The clearest example of this is the Ensign Peak Advisors, which is the church auxiliary of the Mormon Church, which is a big, like $100 billion investment fund that they started back in the day with all the reserves from people's tithes. And because it is a church auxiliary, it's a for-profit investment fund, like worth a lot, like an insane amount of money, and it is unregulated, untaxed. Like it is crazy because according to a little checklist in the IRS, no, that's a church, nothing to see there. Like we don't care that there's millions of dollars coming in. Like we don't have to worry or care about that in the slightest. Like not our problem because it's obviously a church, which is like I'm sure the Mormons know, like it is pure and utter bullshit. Like that is not a church, it's an investment fund. Nathan and Chris in the religion business even go to show that the stuff that the investment fund has poured like millions into goes like directly against what the preachers and pastors will go on stage and say, like, these wars break my heart. Meanwhile, they have like, $10 million holding in some like company that doubles, like a weapons company that doubles in value because some conflict has gone on in some, it's crazy. And like very clearly an abuse of the system. And Nathan's point is that the way that the system is set up, everyone who plays along in that game is like, it's kind of like what Mike Winger says about cover-up culture. There's two kinds of people that are involved with it. It's those who support it and help cover stuff up, and there are people who stand against it and try and expose it. And what Nathan is saying is that this system is built for abuse and it needs reform. It needs the light of Christ. If that's what we're going to preach, that we believe in, then these religious institutions that facilitate us gathering together, it needs to be open and transparent so that everybody can see where the money's going. Right. Have I spoken enough? What was this all talking about? This was all about Nathan's point. And yeah, so all I'm hearing from Nathan is good ideas. If we say that we believe in real accountability, and by the way, Ruslan said that his church gives financials. That little pie chart was bullshit, and Nathan could see that from the get-go. And the other thing is that you could say, oh no, they audited, they can audit that. One, it was not an income statement, it wasn't a balance sheet, it didn't have the notes breaking down the movement in the different line items. It was just like a circle that said, oh, this is where like money goes roughly, generally. And Nathan said to the point of, like these numbers have been audited. There is no, at least in America, I'm not sure if it's the same in the UK. Yo, out of breath here, talking too much. The what was I gonna say? No. About the audit. There is no legal requirement to tell God's honest truth when reporting the numbers that you are writing down. By that I mean like for-profit businesses that get audited in the secular world of business and finance, if they are found to be bullshitting on their financials, and that gets signed off by an auditor, and they are caught, then they face very real consequences, fines, or the government can force liquidations, whole bunch of different things that, like real steps that can be taken in place to say, hey, what you have done has broken the law. Look over here, the law says you can't lie. And yeah, that system is not in place for nonprofits. And even if it was in place for nonprofits, it is. Oh no! I think it is in place for nonprofits, so that where they have to show off, where they have to present like a income and expenses, but for churches, this like black hole of this like unregulated wild west where like anything goes, everyone can do whatever they want. You can make like the world's funkiest pie chart where you show like this is our budget for the year and these are the ministries we're pouring into, and like we're doing God's work, and we're also paying our pastor, we're paying all of our team like a God honoring salary and benefits, and all this great stuff. But, and I'm not saying that those numbers are bullshit, but if they were, there would be no legal or real consequences. So one, how do you know how do you know those numbers aren't rigged? Oh, audit them. And two, how do you know the audit is like, how can you trust an audit that is not legally required? Like, people don't audit shit for fun. Like, it's a job. It's not a I was, I have like a couple million in the bank. I think I'll just like get someone to audit it because I'm feeling like I want to be accountable today. Like that, people, yeah. The audits are legal requirements because when a company starts moving like a certain amount of money in revenue or reaches a certain point in net asset position, then the people who have poured, stakeholders and shareholders who are relying on that information to be what is presented, they need to see somebody like double check the numbers and make sure that there isn't any creative accounting or just straight up like bullshit going on behind the scenes. And the craziest part is that secular for-profit system holds the system that operates in the for-profit secular world has a higher standard of transparency and accountability than what religious institutions do when it comes to the money that is all revolving around the name of Jesus. And so Nathan's big point is like, let's call a shovel a shovel. It's it's not a church because we are the church. It's a business. Let's treat it like a business. And on top of that, because it's a business that is funded by donors, it's not people who put money in expecting like a financial or a material return on their investment. It is people giving out of the like pure and utter generosity of their heart, unless you're Mormon and it's like tithe or else you won't get access to heaven. But like for the world that I've kind of grown up in, which is like Protestant Christianity, the money that flows through there is through people who give out of charity and willingness and faith. And it is not fair on the little guy who's giving his, $20 over 20 years, $20 a week over, 200, $20 a week over 4 weeks a month, over 12 months a year, over like 20 years that this person will be at that religious institution. It is not fair on them that all they will ever be able to see from everything that they've invested in, spiritually, not financially, so everything they've invested in spiritually, all they're going to get back is a vague little pie chart that says, oh, here's like some rough figures of numbers that could be bullshit, could be legit. You can't know. There is no way of knowing because we are the ones in charge. And if you don't like the way that we run business, you can piss right off. And that is legit what Ruslan was saying. He said, so Nathan's talking about transparency, and Ruslan says, what was it? The anchors of transparency is maturity and something else. And Nathan was like, bro, like show me that in a dictionary. Like transparency is just like pulling back the curtain. Let's see what's going on behind the scenes. Something else I have a problem with is that Ruslan kind of, okay, he probably didn't intend for it to be that way, but Ruslan was mocking Nathan because Nathan had pulled a stunt at a different church where he was donating over the course of a few months, and he went to the church after the service was done and went to the front desk and said, hey, I'm Nathan, I'm from the religious business, I'm making this documentary. Can I ask, like I've been donating over the past few months, can I ask can I see where that money is going to? Like, can you show me your books? Can I see some financials? And he got totally shut down. And Ruslan is on the side of the people who said to him, like, hey, you can piss right off. That's none of your business. And Ruslan was like, yo, no, you can't just like hand out $20 and expect someone to give you a full financial statement. And like, if you think about this from the secular world, me as a business person, I've put some, I'm a shareholder in this company, I've put some money in, and maybe it's a very tiny shareholding. Like maybe in the grand scheme of things, the money that I've invested there makes it's a trivial amount. Nobody cares. But even then, because I'm part of, like a whole bunch of shareholders, we as the people who have like invested into this business can say, hey, we want to see what's going on. Because we've trusted our money with you, you owe that to us to show us like what you're doing with it. And so the financial statements are produced and explained and audited, and all of this. And if that is the standard in a secular, in the secular systems outside of church and religious institutions, that look to God as their North Star, guiding light, how much more yeah, there's so many different things I want to talk about, like the kind of leadership that we see. Okay, let me put it this way: the leadership that Jesus displayed for us, so that we could walk in his example, so that we could like live out, was servant leadership. The Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve and give his life as a ransom for many. And okay, like the part about him giving his life up as a ransom for many doesn't have to do so much with financials, although there is a story where Paul presents the gospel through the way he deals with money, and that's the book of Philemon, or Philemon, Philemon, if you say it wrong. And that's going off topic. Jesus leads by example. His example is servant leadership, and servant leadership in the secular world is, hey, you have put your money into the shares of my company, and to honor that, I am gonna get a third party to check the numbers and present them to you and say, this is what we have done with your money, and we've had the courtesy and like brain cells to get somebody outside of the company to do the double checking for us, so that we can't just say, like, trust me, bro, it's all good. Like, there's actually data that has been verified, and that is okay. I wouldn't say that is what directors are expected to do as like a bare minimum for these companies that have to have audits. So it's getting closer to servant leadership, but I would say servant leadership is even more important in a faith-based context, because one, you are doing this because you believe in Jesus and you want to follow his example. Okay, that's a reason to be a servant leader. And we look at the values of Christianity: integrity, servant leadership, integrity, honesty, a light on a hill to shine before everyone, called to. There was a verse about being as wise as serpents and innocent as doves, and be wary of the wolves in sheep's clothing. So, like, not only are we supposed to be the good guys, we also, part of that job is exposing the bad guys, and how that would work in a religious business context, I would imagine, would be to say, look, this is how we are dealing with your money. Another Christian value is stewardship. Part of being a responsible steward for people giving money and for people receiving money is to say, hey, as the person, as the donor, where has my money gone? I'm being responsible and I'm stewarding or accounting for my resources by going to churches, by going to the churches where I give and say, hey, can I see the results of this? Bro, this is so long-winded. I think I need to go a bit bigger picture. What was I talking about? so Nathan has established that he wants transparency, and Ruslan has redefined transparency to mean you can only what Ruslan argued for and described was basically a tiered system. And like as soon as Nathan caught it, he called him out on it, and Ruslan was like, "No, it's not tiered. It's not tiered. It's just the way the world works." And okay, I could be putting words in his mouth, and I'd have to like rewatch the video to see exactly what he said. But basically, um, the premise of the conversation, trying not to put words in his mouth, but just paraphrasing what was said was, I stand. What Ruslan said to the argument for transparency was, no, because like we don't want to be transparent because that like what did he say? Ruslan himself is in a position where he is close enough to the elites in the church, close enough to like the mission, and he's been giving enough and he's earning enough, and that he now knows. Okay, maybe not earning enough, but like he's been faithful enough to steward his resources and come alongside the mission of the church, talking about the religious institution, and he's done that to the point where he's now in the upper echelon, where he knows what his pastor makes, he knows what the church's reserves are, and if he goes to church on Sunday and says, "Hey, just out of pure interest, I want to see like the quarterly movement, or I want to see an income statement for the last year and a net asset position," then they would hand it to him on his lap. Meanwhile, if there's like some broke punk off the streets who's earning $15 an hour, and he says, "Hey, I also donate to the church. Like it's only $3 when I can spare it, but like I'm giving financially to this building where I'm coming to like grow in faith and blah 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 blah." Can I in that position of I'm broke, but I'm giving like pennies. Can I see what the church is doing with that money? And Ruslan was like, "Yeah, no, that person's not mature enough in their walk with Christ to see yet where the money goes and what's happening behind closed doors, and like that information, he's not ready for it because he's just a baby, basically. He's not spiritually mature enough." And that is a tiered system. As soon as I saw that, and I know it's not exactly the same, but as soon as I saw it, I thought about the book of James, where okay, this is half an hour long. I'm just gonna stop and restart the video. As soon as I heard the argument that Ruslan made for the like, I can see where the church is at financially because I'm mature enough, and this like 20-year-old working at McDonald's, he can give in faith and bliss and ignorance because he's not at a place where he's ready yet to know what's happening behind the scenes. As soon as I saw that, what popped into my mind was the book of James, where James says, kind of, also again paraphrasing here, what was it? Don't he was talking about don't treat people differently just because of their perceived positions, talking about the rich versus the poor, and the example that he used to illustrate that point was like you see somebody walking in with like robes and fine jewelry and stuff, and you tell them, "Oh, this person looks rich. I'm sure they'll definitely be able to like financially help us. We're gonna make sure he gets the good seat, he gets the the nice plushy cushions, and I've seen, no, I'm not going to go into that. So you've got the fancy rich looking dude, and like, no, make sure he gets the good spot, and then you get the person who looks like he came in off the streets, and they're like, oh, you can, like, we don't want you to sit by our nice fancy wealthy congregants. You can just like sit on the floor in the corner, and like don't touch anyone. Don't not that, but like you can sit on the floor, you can be out of the way, because we are showing preference to the people that we think is gonna help our bottom line, and clearly it's not you. Like this other guy with the expensive outfit and everything. That's the person that we are gonna be extra Christian to, because we know that they'll be able to help more financially. And James was like, that is evil, and like, don't do that. Don't go there. And yeah, the system that Ruslan described was basically, in my mind and in the context of the church, as in the ecclesia, versus these religious institutions, the businesses that facilitate the ecclesia, the argument that Ruslan brought up for maturity coming as an add-on to transparency, or not even an add-on, but like a like something you need before the church is allowed to be transparent to you. You need to be mature. And again, like, I could poke holes in that as well. Like, if I didn't want to show my financials to somebody because I'm thinking, oh, maybe they won't give as much if they can see how much we're spending on stupid shit, like whatever, fill in the blank. You could just, being in the position of authority, you could just say, I don't think you're spiritually mature enough to be seeing our books yet. And if you are the decider of what is and isn't mature, then it's basically you could just like bullshit people to the day you die. And I'm not saying that people would. I'm just saying, like, it's a flawed argument, which Nathan tried to point out, and Ruslan wouldn't give him the time of day to like get his point across, which very bit of a shame. I say a bit, very much a big shame. So yeah, something that I'm not sure if Nathan brought it up in the interview that he did with Ruslan, but I know I've seen in other interviews that Nathan has done, podcasts, whatever, that he talks about the Reformation came to abolish the system that the Vatican had set up, where it's all the power here on the top and all the little people on the bottom of the food chain are like at the mercy of the kingpins who are on the top. And yeah, if you look at the LDS Church, if you look at these non-denominational movements, if you look at the Jehovah's Witnesses with the watchtowers, not watchtowers, the watchtower, what has happened is, we've had the Reformation, we've broken away from the Vatican, hurrah, hooray, no more Mr. Pope. But we've just set up a bunch of mini popes, because now every single religious institution that's under a different flavor denomination of Christianity has its own little people on the bottom and all the power concentrated on the top. And what Nathan is calling for, he says like in democracy on paper is like the most beautiful thing, and these pastors who have pastors, elders, leadership boards, whatever you want to call it, regarding these religious institutions, the power is at the very top, and they will stand on stage on a Sunday and preach about how democracy is the bee's knees. It is like the coolest thing since sliced bread. And then when you go to say like, hey, you know, part of a we're part of a democracy. I am like me as the congregation, or me as a member of the congregation. I am part of the reason that you have been given your position of authority, and part of that is the financial side, which every single okay, maybe not every single congregant, but like in general, like no congregation, no business, no money coming in, no building, and yeah, so what am I even saying here? One of the points that the religious business focuses on, and the whole idea behind transparency, is removing the power from the top and bringing it back to the people at the bottom of the food chain, because it is the people at the bottom of the food chain who are responsible for keeping these systems, these Nathan describes the religious institutions as machines, right? And it is the people at the bottom of the food chain who give and tithe and donate. It is all those people at the very bottom who keep those machines running. And the goal with transparency is so that people can see what their money is going to, how it's being handled, how it's being dealt with, and putting the power back into the hands of the people, so that when leaders say that they are, servant leaders, they don't just say that and lord it over their congregation. They say it and actually mean it, because hey, I am not like standing on the top of a pyramid. It's not like yeah, I don't want to go into Kenneth Copeland and the pyramid schemes, but I don't want to stand at the very top of this power structure and say that we're accountable, when in practice, like, that is complete and utter bullshit. Like, if you want to try and hold me accountable, I'm just going to demonize you from the pulpit, or just say like, piss off and you can go and find another church. That is not accountability, but that is just the way that the system currently works. And even Ruslan said it. He was like, yeah, those the people who give their $20 because they're so broke they can't afford to donate as much as the rest of us big boys. Those people can go to church. They can ask for financial statements, and if big boss on top says no, and they have a problem with it, they can piss right off. They can go find a new church. And obviously Ruslan didn't put it that way, but like, you have to understand, Ruslan will say that his church is transparent, and he will say that there is so much accountability, but like, it's if the least of these members of the congregation tries to like scrutinize, or like tries even just a little bit to try and hold somebody accountable, and it's like no, take it or leave it. And if you don't like my answer, like, bugger off. Go find yourself a new place where you can donate your like $20. We don't care about it over here. If that is the status quo, that's not accountability. Like, and calling it accountability is a bullshit thing. Which is, yeah, I find it fascinating that Ruslan fights so vigorously for his stance of like, no, transparency without maturity is bad, and like just plain old actual transparency would be a travesty if our congregants saw the way that we were dealing with money. And yeah, bruh, like it's so sad. And no, I guess what could I even say to that? There's I think Ruslan, in order to defend his position, he would believe, regardless of whether or not it is reality or fantasy, he believes that the money is being dealt with like the exact same way as it would be if everyone could see the financials. If it was like open accounting, and anyone could take a look at the books if they wanted to, and there was like published, audited financial statements that are just like open to anyone who's interested. And the statistics that Nathan goes into with the religion business about how it's like 6 pennies on every dollar actually leaves out of the like millions or billions or whatever that's given in charity and donations and tithes. Out of all of those millions or billions of dollars, for every dollar that goes through the system, it's only 6 pennies on the dollar that makes it outside the four walls of the institution that it's gone to, and the 6 cents on the dollar that leaves the walls doesn't even necessarily make it towards the charitable, the mission that people think the whole amount is going to. Because again, coming back to the Ensign Peak Advisors Limited, the church auxiliary, like the money could be leaving the church and going straight to the church's auxiliary, where the same people that are part of the leadership or eldership could also be having a board position on the auxiliary of the church, which means the 6 pence on the dollar of everything that gets sent out, only 6 pence leaves the four walls of this church building, and it goes to an account where out of that account, the same dude from the same church is actually sitting on the board of directors, gets directors remuneration, and is paid a part of those 6 pennies, and if not him, then the overheads of the business. And so like it's such a broken system that when you can see how it's been exploited, there's two reactions. There's either like you can't, like, not everybody is like that, the exception makes the rule. We're all Christians here, and dealing with our finances as to the Lord. And those rotten eggs who are abusing the system, they are the exception, not the norm. But what Nathan is showing is that the fact that those abuses are capable of taking place shows that the whole system is broken, and everyone who feeds into the system is only making the problem worse. And yeah, like I guess it would be a good time to point out that Ruslan was bullshitting when he said he doesn't have a dog in this fight, and I would be too if I said the same, not because I get paid by a church, but because whether or not Ruslan makes money or gives money, he is still a stakeholder. If you think about the institution as a business, and like especially with his church in general, because he was saying he wants to be the person giving the most amount, that is an honorable and like awesome goal, but it just goes to show that he's putting his money where his mouth is. He is giving, and so that makes him a stakeholder in that local religious institution. So yeah, that's how it implicates me as well. And what's also worth mentioning is that when Nathan was asked about how people react to everything that the religious business is like presenting and showing, he said that there are two major reactions, and it's like a split down the middle. Either you are for it and you're like transparency and like being able to actually track and see where all this money is going would be such an incredible and awesome thing. And yes, that like totally fits in with servant leadership, with being a light on a hill that shows like it shows the secular and the non-profit how like what they could be doing. And there was something else that I wanted to say on top of that, but just sticking with this train of thought, there's the split between wow, that is such a cool idea, and versus the people who benefit financially off of the system. Okay, pardon the interruption. So yeah, before I left, I was talking about the. I've gone blank already. I just started filming again. Talking about the two different responses that Nathan gets to the all the information and stuff that the religion business is presenting. He said there's a split down the middle between people who are all for it. They're like, wow, this guy has such good ideas. Like, I do want to see where the money that I've been donating for the past 3, 4, 5 decades has gone to. I want to see how it gets handled, how it's dealt with, all the ins and outs. Especially seeing as, you know, it's the people who keep these the lights on. It's the people who attend on a regular basis who equip the pastor to be able to have a living and to bring up his family being a pastor, to raise his family and to provide a home for them being a pastor. The people in the congregation that are giving every single year, every single month, whatever, they are the ones that keep the lights on, keep the stage equipment working, keep like the whole system dies without these people who are feeding money into it. But it would be really cool to see where that money is going, how it's being dealt with. Otherwise, you have the kind of system in place that turns into Kenneth Copelands or mega church pastors with like millions in real estate, in a personal real estate portfolio that's been paid for by the donors. But I'm getting sidetracked. So that's the one response over here on this side. It's Nathan said that there was somebody, he was at a church where somebody recognized him from the religious business YouTube videos and docuseries and all of this. And she literally just walked up to him and gave him a hug. She was like, thank you for what you're doing, like this. And if I saw Nathan in person, I would, like, bro, I'd love to give you a hug, because this is so cool what you are doing. And on the other side of this, the other reaction, which will come from people who are benefiting from the system. So the pastor that earns his full-time salary uh, from the donations of the congregants, um, the people who, like, pay for the building, pay for upkeep, overheads, staff, um, all the other things that money gets spent on. The people who benefit from that system and who need that system in place, who need people to continually give and give and give and not ask questions, those are the people who are like, I hate that you are asking me to account for what we've done. And it could come out of a place of like, well, you haven't asked me before, and like, the government doesn't ask, why should you get to know? Like, who do you think you are to question the way that I've run things? I've run it, and look where we are now. We're in a good place. You don't have to worry about where the money is getting spent. Like, mind your own business. Which, if, like, okay, this is obviously an extreme, but if that is your point of view, you would be entitled to that point of view if you are running a sole, if you're a sole trader, and like, it's only your money in the business. If you are running a religious institution that is built off of the givings of your congregants, I think you owe it to them to go, like, in depth. This is how we have spent your money. So yeah, all of that to say, what was all of that to say? Basically, just to point out that every single person who is involved, whether you are a congregant who gives faithfully, but also in faith, not knowing where the money is going to or has gone, if you're that person, or you're on the other side where you are financially benefiting from the congregation's tithes and gifts and donations, you are a stakeholder. And so all that means is that you do have a dog in the fight. Like, you have a piece, and like, Ruslan, especially you do have a piece to say in the conversation. Otherwise, you wouldn't make like a 3-hour video about it. Which I guess, like, no shit, Sherlock. I'm pointing out the obvious. So 2 more things that I wanted to mention, and the one goes connects to the point about how Ruslan and all the other people who defend the position of no transparency, we keep what we do behind closed doors, and it's a good thing that we're unregulated, and that the money is on a need to know basis only. For the people who support that, I would imagine that in a perfect world, the scenario where that is a good and where that's a good thing that's celebrated, and you have to understand that that is not the world that we currently live in, because we have been shown, every time you see a televangelist or the whole preachers in sneakers, if you see a preacher on stage wearing shoes that cost more than the car you drive, then you know that, and if that is a preacher whose sole income is from preaching, then you know this system has been abused, or at the very least manipulated. So I'm just like putting it out there. The system's broken. That's a given. But for people who will fight against that and say, "Oh, we're not all like that, and they're the exception, not the rule," blah 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 blah. The world in which that is a good thing is I forget what chapter and verse, but in the Old Testament they were rebuilding the temple, and there was a bit the about the temple reserves and the guys who the workers who were repairing and rebuilding the temple, and there it was mentioned like there was no need for them to account because the workers were honest men, or they dealt honestly, something along those lines. And so basically it was a system where there was so much trust in these people. Like, you knew the money they were taking out was money they needed for repairs, and they weren't scalping, they weren't skimming, they weren't doing anything dodgy with it. And it was like genuinely something to be celebrated. Like, praise the Lord, here are people that are honest workers who, like, they don't need auditors to like stick their nose in the temple finances, because like it is just running the way it's supposed to. That, if it was the case in every single church's books, that would be incredible. But as the religion business have established clearly, that is not the case. And yeah, like Nathan said, you have people who are doing good, but it is not because of the system, it is in spite of the system. Everyone who is playing by these rules is a part of this machine that is like fundamentally designed to do the opposite of accountability and transparency and servant leadership. Instead, it focuses the power on top, and it yeah, I don't know, it's just crazy. But I also, maybe something that people like Ruslan and those that are in his camp and like have the same point of view on the topic of should religious institutions publish and be more transparent with their financials. For people who side with Ruslan on that issue, I would also like to point out that it was a video that was recommended in my YouTube, probably because I've just been like diving deep into everything that I can find that's related to the religion business and Nathan Apfel's work. There was a guy with the church from Hawaii, and I'll link the video if I can find it again. I'll just have to look through history. He had the video was about his like $1 million budget for his church, and in publishing it, again, my issue is that it kind of looked like that pie chart that Ruslan presented for his from his church, which you can call that financial accountability, but like I don't know, bro. It kind of looks like it's not an income statement and a statement of financial position. Or statement of cash flows, or notes that are breaking down the movements in the different accounts. Like, it's a very pretty pie chart, but it doesn't actually help. All of that to say, with this guy publishing his budget and showing these are our top expenses, this is what we pay for our staff, this is what we pay for the building, this is what we this is overhead, admin costs, all of that kind of stuff. He said that people are more open towards giving when they can see what the money is going to. And it makes perfect sense, because if you think about it from a for-profit business point of view, can you imagine your business is in an unregulated market where you don't get to see any of the I keep saying I'm realizing now, and it's, yeah, I'm sorry guys. I'm new to this. What was I saying? What's my train of thought here? People will want to give more, or people will be encouraged to give more, at least think that what they are giving towards is a better choice than like option B and C, because they can see that these guys are transparent and open with how they deal with their money. And yeah, if you look at it from the secular profit business world point of view, it makes so much sense, because you have one company that has audited, published financial statements that like diligently go through where your money would be going to if you invest with them, versus a unregulated business where it's like, we're not going to tell you what happens with your money. You're just going to give it to us and pray in faith that it goes to the right places and doesn't line my back pocket. Nobody will go with that business, because that's like, that has malpractice and abuse written all over it. Like, that system has been designed to be manipulated by people who will use that to turn a profit. And the best example of that on planet Earth right now, I imagine, is the $100 billion Ensign Peak Advisors investment fund. That business model is insane. Like, think about it. I'm gonna force you and all your like, big boss in the Mormon church says to his congregation, you have to pay tithes, or the heaven is like inaccessible to you, or like genuine fear in the heart of the people sitting there on the pews. And it's like, we're not just going to tell you that you have to tithe 10%. We're going to check your bank. You are going to give us your bank statements, and we are going to double check that what you have been paying every single month, and you have been paying, we're going to double check that that actually is 10%. Otherwise, you're trying to lie from us. And they'll probably pull the line that Peter said to those people who are trying to impress them, but also like keep a little bit of the money. Like, you can lie to yourself, but you can't lie to the Holy Spirit. No. You gotta, like, we have to fleece you, and we have to do it like good and proper. And where am I even going with this? Like, they have nailed how to fleece the flock while standing on the authority of Scripture, so that they can feel fully justified in doing it. And they have shown planet Earth the power of look, we just got like a couple million in reserves because of how incredible our system is at monetizing this machine. And oh look, the government, they can't touch us. The tax man cannot come near us if we are a church. So my investment fund is not an investment fund. It's a church auxiliary. It's a ministry. We're doing God's work. And yeah, it's unregulated, billions of dollars, and they can do whatever they want. Any kind of call for accountability or audit, or like, where's the money going? What the hell is happening there? You could ask ChatGPT, hey, spit out like random bullshit, so that people think that is what we've been doing with this investment fund. And like there is no there's no way of telling them that, hey, there's no legal ground to say that's not right, you can't do that, because like the structure just isn't there. um and yeah, so the whole system needs light to shine on there to expose the hidden works that are being done behind closed doors and in the dark. It needs to come to light so that the people who are giving towards these institutions can, they will have the power again to say, hey, do we want to be giving to this guy who has millions in real estate? Should he really be should he be getting paid this amount of money? Like, do I want my money going towards this, or should I, maybe branch out and like give my money towards somewhere that maybe actually needs it for something mission related or feeding the poor related, rather than something that's going to go towards like a $10,000 camera for a mega church to reach the million more subscribers. And like, I'm a, I apologize. I am babbling here. And I think I gotta like land this plane. So to get to the point, real tangible financial accountability is a beautiful thing. And on top of that, because of the way in which religious institutions operates, because the money in is the hard-earned cash of the people who are giving out of their generosity because they believe in the cause or believe in the faith, because that's the system of operation, I think it is owed to the people to be more open and transparent. And like, Ruslan, I know that when you defend your pastor, you think you are doing like, the Lord's work in like standing up for all the pastors in America. But bro, you are like whether you're saying it out of personal conviction or you're like legit shilling, like Benny Hinn would pay you to bring up all those speaking points against Nathan Apfel. Like you are, and you said in that same video that like you stand against Benny Hinn and Kenneth Copeland because you can see that they're abusing the system and taking advantage of people. But that same system, like your pastor, he's a cool guy, but he operates in the same world that Benny Hinn and Kenneth Copeland have been able to thrive on. Um, and Nathan's just saying, hey, if we just ask for more accountability and real transparency, not transparency with like conditions, just yeah, if it's conditional transparency, that is not on. Like, it's either you're transparent, yes, 100%, or you are like behind closed doors and like only on a need to know basis, and we have a tiered system of who gets to know and who gets to stay in the dark because we don't really trust you guys. And yeah, I think Nathan said it best. The reason why the system, the reason why this broken system is being defended is because of precedents. Like, if the system wasn't in place, I don't think there would be any good biblical arguments, especially from a Christian worldview, biblical Christian worldview. There wouldn't be any good arguments for this type of system, bearing in mind the way that it gets manipulated, they are, yeah. And yeah, I don't like, if you left out religious institutions, and just think about it, if you left religious institutions out of it, we're not, like, just for a second, we're not talking about ecclesia, we're not talking about um, any sort of non-profit that has to do with God. Just think about your normal businesses, um, normal, or like the mega corporations, that the more transparent they would be, it would be like a benefit to, like, everyone. And yeah, because that knowledge is power. And it it's sad that I mean, yeah, I haven't heard a good argument yet for your position, and I think it's, I don't know, it's defending a system that only does damage in the long run. And what Nathan is calling for is like genuinely a great thing. And like, you're a smart dude. Like, I've been watching you for years, and this is like the first time that I've watched a Ruslan video and thought, damn, that was a bad take. Like, are you even thinking about the stuff that you're saying? Because it just sounds so ridiculous coming out of your mouth. And like, it's not just you. I think everybody who defends this system after what Nathan has shown it to be in the religion business, everyone who defends that system, like, I can't think of a good reason why you would want to keep that system around and why you'd want to defend it. I think it is a, yeah, I mean, you know, if you've watched more than if you watched more than 5 minutes of this video, then you know what I think about it. But yeah, this comes out, the reason why this is such a big thing for me and why I'm like going on and on and on is because I love your videos. I love listening to the conversations that you have with people. Like I said, I've been watching you almost as long as I've been watching Mike Winger, which I think that's been like maybe a little bit short of a decade. I remember, I think I stumbled onto your channel because of Mike Winger's second channel, where he did something like 5 live streams about how Christians should do YouTube. And part of those live streams, he was doing reviews of other people's YouTube channels. And one of the channels that popped up was your one. And I saw that and I was like, wow, I like what this guy is doing, and I'll check him out. And I started watching you then, and I've been watching, like, I've been keeping up, and this is like genuinely the first time that I've thought, wow, he's on the wrong side here. Like, that is why I am so like, with almost every single issue that I've seen you wrestle with and tackle and speak about and bring guests on to your show to talk about, not show, but you know what I mean. I think, like, wow, here's a really, like, he's seeing the argument from both sides, and he knows what he's talking about, and like his heart's in the right place. And I'm not saying your heart isn't in the right place with this particular issue. It could be that your heart is in the right place and I am like dead wrong. And again, like, you know, maybe there's something I'm not seeing in all of this. Maybe there's a blind spot that I have, but yeah, this is like genuinely such a bad take from you, and I do not understand why you've come on the side against Nathan Apfel and not like championing him and saying like, wow, bro, that's like so cool, the stuff that you're doing. um and I guess you not even like, maybe that's going a step too far, but if you see what Sean Ryan's uh, like response to all the information that Nathan was bringing, he was like, you know, um, I saw a lot of comments on the Sean Ryan video that he did with Nathan Apfel about like, wow, Sean, I think it's so cool that you're even thinking about how would this affect people who are new in their faith, and like, oh, this is just like, you're worried that this could just be seen as like throwing stones at the at Christianity, at what it is today. um, and so like he was going into that conversation like treading on eggshells and very cautious, but also like, wow, I do have questions, because he can see like reality for what it is. There is a system that has been abused in the name of God, and it's not something we talk about, but it is something that we need to talk about, or like start thinking about, because of how rampant and like excessive this issue has become. And so like Sean Sean wasn't, he wasn't like, oh, I'm like 100% in support of what you're saying, and like it all makes sense, and like, wow, it's such a clever cookie kind of thing. He was like, I'm cautious, but I also want to hear what you have to say, and I I'll just hear you out, and I'm here to listen. I'm here to like ask questions. I want to think more about this, and that was not your approach at all. Um, like, your approach with Nathan felt like just butting heads, and like talking past each other, and like you had your mind set up. And that interview with, and I could be completely wrong here, this is just like my view of things, the having Nathan Apfel on your show was to get him to sit across the table from you so you could say, bro, you are dead wrong and here's why, and yada 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 yada. And like, yeah, one, I don't understand why that's your position, and like, maybe I just wasn't listening to you, and if that is the case, bro, I'm so sorry. I'll go watch that 3 hours again. um and sorry, not and, but Mara, Mar, Leicester, going Afrikaans on you. I'm sorry. I might have to edit that out. I'm surprised that your position was so that you've got the one extreme where it's like, I'm all for this. This is amazing. I totally agree. And you've got this extreme where it's like, um, bro, I'm gonna send. I'm gonna put like a hit out on Nathan, or I'm gonna send people to like troll him, and I'm gonna like actively do everything I can in my power to stop the religion business from operating, because like they're talking too much and they need to be stopped. Like they can't even have these conversations. That's the other extreme. And I'm surprised that you weren't sort of in the middle, where it was like, this is a beast of an issue, and it is a complicated one, and there is a lot to talk about. But instead, it was more along the lines of like, no, you're wrong. Transparency only works if it's conditional transparency, which I like. You can rehash that, or re-explain it as many ways as you want to. If it's not pure, open, honest transparency, I will only see it as smoke and mirrors and bullshit. Um, and yeah, something I want to say about a very minor point. Oh, okay, maybe it's minor, maybe it's not. Something I want to speak into, one of the points that you raised. You said there could be a brother who he's young in his faith. He's broke bitch, and he's not in a place where he can handle seeing how much the pastor makes, which is why you need maturity to go before you can get transparency. And on that whole argument, I would say that me, as a young believer who has no idea what I'm doing or what I'm talking about, and I'm still figuring stuff out, and I'm broke, but I'm like, damn, I want to see like what my hard earned £2 that was given towards this cause. I want to see what that's gone into. Between the two reactions, I just want you to like mull over in your mind what would be the more what would be the better response in terms of your position as a brother in Christ who has been sent to make disciples of all nations. The one response is, hey bro, you're not ready for it. Come back when you got a real job and you can support us with real money, while you've got your your spare change that you're putting in the bucket. We think that you are not ready to see the the 70K, 50 to 70K salary that our pastor is making. And there's that response, and there could also be, hey, you've got questions, I'm going to walk you through it. We're going to show you the how much money comes in through everyone's giving. We're going to show you how it is handled, how the money coming in is distributed to between running costs, salary, benefits, overheads, admin costs, and then the stuff that all Christians want to put their money to, like feeding the poor and clothing the naked, and doing the stuff that Jesus did, like practically like feeding people and all these things. And me as like a broke bitch, I think, okay, and it could just be like a generalization, but I think you have this fear in your mind that if people see how much money your pastor is making and their faith is too immature and they're too much of a baby Christian, it'll break their faith. And I think that is like complete bullshit. I work a 9 to 5 job, and I am like brand new to it. I know that nobody none of the partners at the firm would show me how much they make every year, and I know if I saw that number, like I'll be like, whoa, what? But like that's not gonna make me suddenly quit my job and like, oh, that was too much for my like tiny pea-sized brain to handle. And in the context of like seeing what your pastor makes, I think if there was a reaction that was to the effect of like, he's making way too much money, and like, why would we pay somebody that much for just like reading some Bible verses on a Sunday, that is where you could then explain, like, hey, the don't muzzle the ox while it treads the grain, and we want our and you could also show where Paul says better is oh, Paul talks about how you either you work or you don't eat, and pointing that out to say, like, better is the oh, what was it? It's something about how if you can't take care of your family, then you are like scum of the earth. Not Paul's words, but it gets the gist. Like Paul said, for you need to work and you need to be able to provide for your family, and that is a non-negotiable. And so those are the kind of conversations that you could be having with the broke kids who contribute to your church, to the religious organization where you get together, and it could be a beautiful opportunity to disciple and speak into his life, and just like the servant leadership. If it is servant leadership, they should be encouraging questions. They should be going to the congregation and saying, like, hey, you give us all this money and we want to challenge you to actually, like, ask us about how it is being dealt with, where all the money is going, what we're doing with it, what we want to do, all of our plans, and if it was actually servant leadership, they would be encouraging scrutiny, not hiding behind closed doors and saying, like, oh, you didn't donate enough to need to know about the financial situation that's cooking up in the background. I think it's a very two-faced system, on stage. Like, oh, you need to be a man of integrity and you need to be honest, and like you have to, like, for spiritual things you have to confess and say where you're at. But then us, when it comes to the financial side of the business aspect of running the building and keeping the lights on, that's none of your business. You don't need to know about that unless you are like the cream of the crop, like the 10% on top that is contributed to making this all happen. That is a tiered system, and that is not right. Like, just it is just very wrong, very bad, not cool. There's probably more I could say, but that was a rough landing, but that is how I'm gonna land this plane. So yeah, God bless you. Jesus loves you. Yeah. Amen.